Money, 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 money. That's what we're talking about here. Obviously, it's important. We all want to know about it. I want to know how to get more of it. But we'll start with the boring stuff. How exactly do we define money? Money is one of those things, everybody knows what it is, and yet if you ask for a strict definition, you get lots of answers. What exactly counts as money? Why does money, in the sense of those little green pieces of paper, why does money have value? Kind of amazing trick, right? I give somebody a few pieces of paper, and they give me food that actually sustains me. It's a wonderful social construct. It keeps the whole economy in motion. It's really important. When economists define money, we look first of all, what is its function? What is it doing? It's used in most transactions because the alternative is barter. But money is better than barter. Barter is where I have one thing and somebody else has a different item, and we get together and we swap. The classic fable is the pastoralist brings their sheep down from the hills to the fishing village. The pastoralist says, I have more sheep than I want, but I would like some fish to eat. And the fisherman says, I have more fish than I want, but I'd like a sheep. And they figure out some way of bartering sheep for fish. They're both better off. Things are good. But what if somebody doesn't want just one thing? I sell economics knowledge. And in return, I want food to eat and a roof over my head and coffee in the morning. It'd be very complicated to find somebody with coffee who wants to trade it for economics knowledge. The world is complicated. You hear stories of back in the time of the Soviet Union, the money system would regularly break down and the folks who worked at the toilet paper factory would get paid in toilet paper. And then have to go around and get all the rest of everything they want, food and shelter, everything, with rolls of toilet paper. They had it good because everybody needs TP. But it's still complicated to figure out, okay, how many rolls of TP does it take to get soup? Whereas with money, one of its primary functions is to be the medium of exchange. If I run a restaurant, people come in, I give them food. In return, they give me money. We're both happy because I can exchange that money for other stuff. Pay the staff, buy inventory, pay rent, etc. Now, money is also a store of value. My little green slips of paper are worth something today. They'll be worth something tomorrow. They'll be worth something next year and the year after. Money is a unit of account. In accounting class, everybody takes for granted the idea that a business can figure out profit and loss by counting money. We're so used to doing that, we don't even necessarily realize how weird it is. Historians talk about the monetization of economies, convincing peasants who maybe never saw money to start thinking of everything in terms of money. Creates a lot of efficiencies. Money is a standard of deferred payments, so people can write contracts about the future. We do it all the time, sometimes without even really thinking about it. I can go online, get some stuff delivered to my door, and return next year, I'll give some money. Maybe it's even too easy. Early in this class, we talked about doing things like calculating present values. What is the value of $1,000 given in 10 years or something like that? We can distinguish commodity money versus fiat money. Commodity money is stuff that has some value in and of itself, like toilet paper from the previous story, or in some prisons historically used cigarettes, a type of money. Lots of different societies throughout history had different types of commodities that were money. Maybe cows were money, or gold could be money. These all have some sort of use. In the modern world, though, we have fiat money. That's valuable because somebody says it is. In some ways, it's a faith-based currency. Green pieces of paper have value because I believe that somebody will give me stuff for that little green piece of paper in the future because they have faith that they can use it in the future. We all believe that we'll keep using money, so it keeps going around, coming around. Now, one of the other values of money, as opposed to other things like government bonds or mortgages or a car, is it's liquid. It has immediate value, which is not lost if you immediately need a transaction. If you own a car, that's great, but if you suddenly need to pay a bill and need to sell your car, you need to sell it today. You're not going to get full value. Whereas money is immediate. $20 is $20, regardless of whether I'm going to be holding on to it for a while or not. we want to measure the amount of money. One question arises. Does cash rule everything around me? No, actually not. Most of the money in the U.S. is not cash. Cash is one of the things that we count as money, but it's not all of it. Money is commonly measured as M1 or M2. If you remember back to our definitions of unemployment, we had variations with really creative names like U1, U2, U3, etc. Here we measure money with, again, wonderfully creative names like M1 and M2. What poetry! Now, government statisticians recently changed the definition, so it's basically just M1. The others are legacy. M1 is cash plus other stuff. Now, this might be somewhat surprising, but most cash in circulation is $100 bills. In 2022, there were over 18 billion $100 bills and 14 billion $1 bills. Not only do $100 bills have more value, but there are actually more of them out there. That may be surprising since many are not in circulation within the US, rather they're in circulation in other parts of the world. Other people around the world, maybe you never transact with anybody in the US, they like our money and use a lot of our money for various reasons. All that cash is a part of total M1, but cash does not rule everything around me. In addition to cash, we count most bank accounts as part of M1, and they're a lot bigger than the cash. M2 is everything in M1 plus certificates of deposit, CDs that are less than $100,000, and money market funds. So most money, quote unquote money, things that we count as money, just entries in a computer somewhere. It's not cash, it's not anything else we could actually touch. Most of the money in existence is zeros and ones in some computer somewhere. That makes some people uncomfortable, but that's the facts. This graph shows money as a fraction of GDP. Over that time, GDP has grown enormously, but so has money. So it's useful to look at money as a fraction of GDP to see to what degree they grow in parallel. The bottom line is cash as a fraction of GDP. We can see it's a tiny amount. That vertical jump there, let me get my head out of the way. That vertical jump there is because in 2020, the statisticians changed what they count as M1 versus what they counted as M2. Because back in the old days, before electronic banking was common, people had separate checking accounts and savings accounts. The savings accounts were, as the name might imply, those were used with the intention of not using them regularly, except for big expenditures like buying a home or something. It used to be plausible to say those were different categories. But in modern times, everybody's banking online. You pull up an app, you move money from one account to the other. It's dead simple. So it no longer made any sense to pretend that those are different. So the statisticians said those are all basically M1, and we'll start just counting them that way. It looks like there's been a drastic shift, but there wasn't actually really much of a drastic shift. Although, other things did happen in 2020, but... All right, so if you're following along, you're justifiably perhaps saying, wait a minute. Seems like there are a lot of things that should be counted as money that aren't in here. Why isn't plastic in there? Why isn't my credit card? That's how I pay for a lot of things. Maybe even I pay with my phone, which is itself linked to a credit card, but isn't that kind of money? Why do we not count plastic as part of money? There are a few reasons. Debit cards are directly linked to a checking account, so that would be double counting. As for credit cards, those are actually loans. Ultimately, you pay your credit card bill, you move funds from your checking account into the account of one of the big banks, whoever issued the credit card. In the intervening time, it's a loan. Credit cards, debit cards, new innovations like paying with your phone, they're very efficient. They're very effective. They're very easy ways of moving money, but they're not money. They're a way to move money. As for other things that might be money, you can debate about what crypto might be someday, but it's not the current definition of money. For all the hype at the beginning, hardly anybody has ever used Bitcoin to actually pay a bill. Most people use Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies as assets, something they hope will go up in value, which is actually a big reason why people do not want to pay their bills with it, because they hope it's going to go up in value. If it rockets to the moon, then it's less attractive as a mean of payment now. People can debate about when or if that'll ever change. I don't know the future, but ain't there yet. It's not part of the official definition of money. There are other assets that have been created even before crypto. There are experiments with local money. People get together, typically in a small town, kind of remote, and they agree they're going to print extra things that look like money, and the local stores say they'll accept that as payment. Some people in town might get to use it as payment. There are cases where that might grow, but again, it's never really taken off. Maybe someday, somewhere, somehow, it might, but at least for now, it's not money in the government statistics.